I guess today is one of those quiet, relaxed days. I didn't go to sleep until really late. Well, I fell asleep on the couch like I always do. Like I always do. And then got up to go get the boy. He was still awake, y'all, at 4 something this morning. That's not okay. I'm gonna have to do better. He's gonna have to do better. We all have to do better. Good. Rose, you're awake, girl. Did you get any sleep last night? Any sleep? Any sleep at all? I'm trying to connect to this Facebook so that I can make sure that I can read the comments of people yeah, who are on my page. Rose, what are you doing awake? I certainly did not expect you to be here today. I woke up to your message like, did she think I was awake? She crazy? I was knocked out. All right. I was knocked out. I fell asleep on the couch last night. And it's not even the most comfortable couch. That's the sad part. Get off the couch, girl. Go to bed. Go to bed. I spent all this time yesterday. Good morning, Steve. I spent all this time yesterday searching on Amazon, putting all of these things in my Amazon cart. Then when I went to pay for the cart, why was it like some of it's not going to arrive until October? I'm like, yeah, forget it then. I don't need it. I'll find it someplace else. I had found the perfect yarn for Darlene's hat. No, because it wasn't going to arrive until October. That's crazy. Steve, you might want, everybody doesn't know who your daughter is. And Steve, when I saw that picture of the beautiful, fine, gorgeous goddess that was on your page, I was like, why Steve putting pictures of chicks on his page like this? Like, what message is he sending? Good thing I opened the comments because I didn't say anything out of pocket. Let me say it that way. I didn't say anything out of pocket because I opened the comments and someone said Steve's daughter coming through or something. Somebody said something about it being your daughter. And I'm like, oh my God, that's his daughter. He might want to put my daughter. This is my precious. Might want to add that so folks know. Leave the comments because Steve, you come to the table all the time with some crazy comments. I was prepared. Good morning, Suli. Good morning. Good morning. So today's topic, I'm going to get started right on time today. It's kind of heavy, guys. It's kind of heavy. Mend it. Mend it. That's the topic for today. Mend it. And I came up with this topic because yesterday I was walking down the street. I was doing my normal walk around. I don't know how many times my neighbor's going to see me, but around the block. You are a scoundrel, Steve. Hold on, let me back up. You are a scoundrel. Look, you might want to put your half-dressed daughter on your page. That's fine. I don't have any problem with the picture. The picture was beautiful. The lines were beautiful. Her hair was beautiful. But you might want to say, this is my daughter. You might want to add that because some of us don't have the reference point. And I'm coming to your page from my tea time reference point. Steve, sometimes sometimes, Steve. And you might want to be like, hi, this is my daughter, so don't start talking about her booty. It's a fetish. Anyway, it's not a fetish for real, y'all. I'm messing with you. I do appreciate a well-shaped butt, though. I really do. Sully says, it's been kind of a heavy morning for me, too. I feel quite introspective today. Just feel like going in a good way. So I'm looking forward to this talk. Yeah. Good morning. I'll be on for a few minutes. Headed to an appointment. I can look for the yarn you need if you like. Oh, that's Darlene. Yeah, Darlene, I found the perfect yarn. I found it. I put it in my carts. I was about to pay for it. It's talking about October. No. So if you find some, sure. No problem. Yes. We'll make that happen. But if I'm going to look for some more. I'm going to look for some more. Anyway, so yesterday I was walking down the street and out of nowhere, I started missing my father. Out of nowhere. I'm just walking down the street. I don't know what popped into my mind. Hey, Asia. I don't know what popped into my mind, but all of a sudden I was like, I miss my dad. Now, you guys understand that I did not have the best relationship with my father. Oh, that's it. Who's Erica? That's Erica that said something about the yarn. Oh, sorry, Erica. I thought that it was Darlene because Darlene is the one that I need the yarn for. Sorry, Erica. I did not have the best relationship with my father growing up. I loved him. But I did not have the best relationship with him. I will attribute that to my mom insisting that we had to love our father no matter what his flaws were, no matter what, he did or did not do to our liking. That's your father. You have to love your father. So yesterday I'm walking down the street and all of a sudden there's this thought that I miss my dad. And then right after that thought is the idea that I missed my dad even when my dad was alive. I didn't have the best relationship with him. And so I missed him even when he was alive and kicking. I still missed him. And now he's gone. And there's no time to mend broken open wounds or closed wounds that have healed over, scabbed over, and they're still hurt. There's no time to do that because he's not here. And I just wanted to bring that to the table today because a lot of us have people in our lives, situations that we have not healed from, or we think we have healed from. Hey, Darlene. Okay, now Darlene is here. Good morning, Darlene. Good morning, Amanda. We have things that we feel like we've healed from, but have we really healed from those things? Or have we just, scooted them under the rug, pushed them away, pushed them aside? We're not ready to deal with that emotion. Or I think I'm over it, so I'm just going to claim to be over it. And in fact, you're not really over it. Life is too short. Life is too short. There is not enough time to spend distanced from anybody, distanced from the things that you like to do, distanced from your passion. Really, Suli? That is so interesting. Perfectly synchronized with what I was pondering today. Wow, Suli, it must be in the air, man, and we breathe in different air. It's too short, and that's where I am today, like walking around the house, like, oh my God. And I'm not stuck in the sadness of missing my dad. It's not a sadness that came about me. It was just just a thought that I miss him. Wow. I was kind of a little bit, I don't know how this is going to sound weird. I felt good that I missed him. Honestly, I felt good about that because I didn't have the best relationship at all. For many years, I couldn't stand my dad. I loved him, but I could not stand him. Right? I could not stand. He was not the father he should have been. He was not there for me the way I witnessed other people's parents being there for their children. He was not the father that many of you at this table had. He was not that person. I don't know what that father, having that type of father, would feel like. I don't know what it feels like to be so connected and to have your father dote on you. Like he doted on my sister. He didn't dote on me. I don't know what that feels like. So the idea that even not knowing what that feels like, even not having had the best relationship with him, even spending most of my life for most of my life as an adult, I could not go spend time with my father without a buffer being there with me. So I lived in the same city with my father, and my sister would come to town. And whenever my sister came to town, I would go visit my dad because she was the buffer. I could just sit there. I would be visiting him. I could just sit there. I didn't have to say anything because he'd be talking to Charmin. I could just sit there and I could be visiting my dad. But I was not comfortable going to visit my dad on my own, right? I'm going to get to your comments. And then later, before I moved out of Missouri, there were times that I would force myself to go visit with my dad. But the only way I could do it was that he was a photographer and I was going to him for photography advice. So we would meet at his house. We would go out and shoot together, and it was just business. He was the instructor and I was the student. It was not, hey, dad, love you, give you hugs. Nope. instructor and student, but that's the relationship we had at that time. That's all we could do. That's all I could do. And he wasn't reaching out. He wasn't reaching out to say, hey, God, come hang out with me. That's not the dad he was. Remember, that's just not the dad he was, right? He could have done a better job. He was an asshole for a while, but I loved him and I love my father, right? I do. But so the fact that I missed him, I love that I miss him. I love that I miss my father. And it just speaks to what we all know. It doesn't matter what you do to your kids. It doesn't matter how. Now, there are limits. So let's not push it to the limit, Steve. Don't start talking about, but what if? Don't start doing that, okay? There are limits. But you can have a parent who is cracked out and neglectful, and the children are still loving and wanting that connection from that parent, right? So to believe that I don't need him, I don't need my dad. Now, I never said that. I don't need my dad. Maybe I did. Maybe I did. At some point, maybe I did. But not in my later years. To believe I don't need that person in my life, that's not true. You need your mother. You need your father. You need that connection. And there's all these therapists out there that are talking about if it's your family, toxicity, cut the toxicity, blah, blah, blah. Right. And then when they die, you didn't mend that divide. And now you still miss that parent that you distanced yourself from because of the toxicity. I'm not saying deal with toxic people in your life. I'm saying address the toxicity. Address that. That's what I'm saying. My dad's last years were, maybe last year. Let me not over exaggerate. Maybe the last year or two they were great years, but it was when his mind was a little slipping. And I was like, look, slip on, brother, because you being the daddy I want you to be now. His last years were years of him being the father that he should have been. And there was a time, I'll tell you how hard this was for me. There was a time I was so used to my dad never expressing love to me in a way that I would ever recognize love, right? Never expressed it. And my dad had an emergency hospital visit. I can't remember what it was, an aneurysm or something or other. We all thought he was about to die. So I hopped on a plane, flew from California to Missouri right away. And my father told me he loved me. I was on the phone with him. And after I visited him at the hospital, my brother was talking to him. Then I took the phone. He said, Dad wants to speak to you. And my dad said, I love you. And I was like, I was shocked, guys. I didn't know what to do with that information. I did not know how to process my father telling me he loves me. I was like, yeah, I got to go, and hung up. I couldn't deal with it. And of course, I was crying. This is the first time in my entire life that I can remember my father saying, I love you. And I had to be in my late 20s. It hit me hard. It stabbed me like a knife. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's what it did. I was so used to this hard ass that's what I had learned to deal with. And the moment he softened up, I was like, no, I can't deal with that. I cannot deal with that. Of course, he healed and got better and never told me he loved me again, but that's a different story. He came back to his right mind, never said it again. However, so then these last couple of years, when his mind was slipping again, or this time his mind was slipping. The last time he thought he was dying, this time his mind was slipping. When his mind was slipping, he started being a little more connected. And I thought, wow, this is the dad. This is the dad I wish I had my whole entire life. I'm going to stop for a second. I want to get to you guys' comments because I know you guys are saying a whole bunch of stuff. So let me get to your comments. Good morning, Bina. I saw you, darling. You say you're still healing. You're not in denial. That's right. Live fully. Every moment is ready with the expectation for us to experience it all. I miss my dad and my papa. Yeah. Steve says, embrace the emotions you feel at the moment and have a mental conversation with that person. It's amazing how just speaking your words will set you free. Yeah. You know what? Steve, the feeling was good. Like it wasn't a bad emotion. It was not a sad thing. It was like, wow, I miss my dad. This is awesome. I love that I miss my dad. I don't know if that makes any sense. Suli says, I miss my connections with my family as they are thousands of miles and oceans away. I'm not alone, but some mornings. Yeah. Because you're so distanced, right? You can't just reach out and touch mom and dad. You can't just reach out and give hugs and love. Stays that I don't know what I feel like on the receiving end, but I made sure that I gave my all and did everything I could to be in their lives. That felt great. You mean with your kids, right? It's so important. It's so important. Rose says, yeah, my father was a jerk as well. He never said he was bipolar, but I'm sure he was. The responsibility of raising Z gets a bit heavy. I feel you. I feel you, Suli. I know I have support, but I feel the weight of ensuring that I pave a path that he can succeed. It's very heavy. Who is this that says Facebook user? Let me see if I can see who that is. I can't see who it is. I'm sorry. My Facebook feed is I relate to this. Daddy was an asshole and he was my daddy. I am so glad we fixed us as best we could before he died. Is that Charmin? Is that you talking about my daddy? Because my daddy was an asshole. Is that who you're talking about? Or we're just two like people who have asshole daddies? Susie says, and turning a year older next month makes me think of them. Good morning, Bernadette. And turning a year older next month makes me think of them a little older. It's getting real that they won't be here for long, right? I reached for him in ways he never reached for me. It was that important to me and my wellness, right? Stace says, Suli, just know that what Z lacks of. Yeah, I can't make that sentence make sense, Stace. Just know that what Z lacks of, what he got was what he will push to have with his family. Okay, I think he's saying great job, Suli. Suli, you are blessed with a son who sees the great efforts you practice to raise him. Therefore, he understands his responsibility to practice the moral compass you have instilled in him, right? Amanda says, is it that we should desire the person we want or accept the person they are? I'm going to get back to that question. Thank you, King, Stace, and Steve. Mai was tried to be loving, but in his last 2 years, he cut off all his family out. Suli, yes, girl, this was heavy and still is raising my son. So I want to go back to your question, Amanda, because it's a good question. It's a very, very good question. And it's one that I address with my son on a regular basis. Right now, he's not speaking to his father, and I can't for the life of me convince him that it's something he needs to do. And I keep relating for him my story about my disconnection with my father and how it's very important for us to stay connected, right? So when I said that my mother said that we had to love our father, that's exactly what you're asking here. We had to love him for who he was, not who we wanted him to be. That is who he is. So therefore, this person has these faults. So do you hate the person because he has these faults? Or do you just accept that is the person who he is and he's doing, or she, right? Because it could be your mom, it could be your grandmother, your cousin, your sister, whatever. They're doing the best they can do. That's who they are, and they're doing the best they can do. Therefore, you just love them for who they are, for not who you want them to be. Now, what I said was he wasn't the father I wanted him to be, but I loved him as my father. So it is exactly dealing with your question. He is not, simultaneously, was not the father I wanted him to be. And simultaneously, I love my father. I was taught to separate those two things. He is your father, period. And in the end, I had the father that I wanted him to be. It's just that it was a very short amount of time that I had that father. So I don't know if the reason I'm missing him today is because of the feelings because of the connection we had in his last couple of years. I don't know if that's the case, or if whether I just miss him, period. Whether I would have missed him even if I didn't have those last 2 years. What I know is I wouldn't feel good about it the way that I feel now. I feel good. I miss him and I'm happy I do. That speaks a lot to how much I grew before he died and how much I made the efforts. And you know what made me make an effort? Two things. First of all, my wonderful, wonderful sister Bernadette reached out to me. We had a Facebook exchange where I reached out to her in love, very frustrated about some things that were going on with my father in terms of health-related things that I wasn't aware of. Very frustrated, and she promised me that if she heard anything, she would reach back out and let me know, and she did. Every time she did. And so and thank you, Bernadette, because without that, I don't know that I would have had the amount of time to mend things that I had. So I'm very, very happy for that connection with my sister Bernadette. But I went to a funeral of probably the man that I love most in my life, aside from my grandfather. My grandfather died several years before this love for his brother. Basically, his brother kind of stepped in and kind of became like my grandfather, right? At least in my mind, in my feelings, he became like my grandfather. And I used to walk into the room with him, and any time I would be in a space with him, I would cry. It would be a happy time. It would be 4th of July, a birthday, a child's birth, any happy celebration, an anniversary. And if my Uncle Richard walked into the room, I was bawling like a baby for no reason. Like, I'm so happy to see you, Uncle Richard. And tears falling down my face the whole entire time that I was in his presence. I could never be in his presence without crying, probably because he reminded me of my grandfather. So I felt very connected to him, very connected to him. And at my grandfather's funeral, he let me speak in his place, where my grandfather's wife, who was not my grandmother, my step-grandmother, but anyway, she didn't want any of the grandchildren to speak at the funeral. She only wanted the siblings to. And my Uncle Richard knew my connection with my grandfather, and he was like, look, you're going to say my scripture. When it's time to read the scripture, you go up there and read my scripture. And I was like, but Uncle Richard, what about if Grandma Lorna says anything? He says, if Grandma Lorna says anything, let me deal with it. I'm like, all right, Uncle Richard. All right. And when it came time in the church to get up and go read the scripture, Grandma Lorna didn't know I was doing it. We totally snuck that in. And I got up and went up and read the scripture. And I think I will forever be indebted to my Uncle Richard for that. I don't know if indebted is the right word, but you know what I mean. Heartfelt love for him. Anyway, when he passed away, his wife passed away, my Aunt Peggy passed away, and we all knew that soon after that, Uncle Richard would go. And he did. Probably 6 months later, Uncle Richard died. And by the time I was going through, I saw Uncle Richard break down at Aunt Peggy's funeral, and then Uncle Richard died. For some reason, I connected that back to my father. Like, he's not going to be around for much longer. And at that point, I started reaching out to my father. And at that point is when I connected with Bernadette as well. And she started feeding me information about what was going on with my father. So we had that time, and it was what you were saying earlier, Suli. As we get older, we realize our elders are not going to be here forever. And the other day, guys, you know, my mom be getting on my nerves. Let's just be real. She does. Whose mother doesn't get on their nerves? If you raise your hand, for real, just step away from the table now. Good for you if your mama doesn't get on your nerves. I love mine, but she get on my nerves. And I'm the type of person that's just like, get to the point, get to the point, get to the point. As much as I don't get to the point, if you're talking to me, I need you to get to the point, right? So the other day I'm talking to my mom, and she's calls me with something, and I'm listening to her as I'm driving home from I had to stop by the office, and I'm listening to her, and in my mind I'm like, get to the point, lady. And then I realized I had done the math on how old she was. I did that the day before to try to help Etienne understand how old his grandmother was. So I did the math on how old she was. And as I was listening to her go on and on and on and on and on about something, I'm like, just get to the point. I realized, that lady is 76 years old. If she want to take forever to get to the point, let her take forever. That's fine. Just listen, God. And it reminded me of my grandmother when I was little. If you say I know one more time, I'm going to knock your head off and it's going to go rolling across the street. And my grandmother was not a violent person. You guys know that. She had tea time at her table. She was not violent. And I remembered my grandmother saying, just listen to people, Kai, just listen. So this has been a lifelong journey for me. So, we don't have time, guys. There's not time to stay mad at your brother, sister, cousin. There's not time to stay mad or disconnected from your uncles, aunts, sisters, brothers, cousins, friends. There's not time from your parents. There's not time to stay disconnected. And today, you may feel like that's okay. I've come to be okay with being disconnected from my sister, brother, cousin, whoever. But the reality is that when that person is gone, you're going to miss that person. So you should take the opportunity now to mend whatever wounds need to be mended, to have at least the conversation. That got me to thinking of missing my dad, got me to thinking about a girlfriend who was my girlfriend for 20 years, at least 20 years. And I have not heard from her in 10 years. And at a certain point, I was like, well, whatever. She don't want to talk to me. She don't have to talk to me. But I don't know why she doesn't want to talk to me. We didn't have any falling out. Nothing happened between the two of us. We've been friends for 20 years and all of a sudden nothing. And I'm like, I'm tired of reaching out to her. I'm tired. It's always me. It's always me that has to hunt her down. And so today, or tomorrow, or the next day, because I'm not going to promise it's going to be today, I've got to figure out how to at least send her a message that, hey, it's been 10 years since we've talked. I still love you. You are still a part of my history. And I would love for us to reconnect. Now, granted, we may not be able to reconnect the way we were connected because it's been 10 years and Heifer, you left and without a word. No reason why. And I reached out a couple of times. I'm going to reach out one more time. One more time. Okay, let me get to some of your comments. You guys know I get lost in talking sometimes. Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to make sure I get to the right place. Okay. Or he's seeing your growth and healing is proud of you. He's still with you. Yes, absolutely. Bina says, I'm not mad, but my mom isn't speaking to me and I'm letting it sit. Bina. No fight, no words. She just stopped. Yeah, Bina, reach out. Reach out, Bina. That's what I'm going to implore you to do. Because if you let it sit and then what happens tomorrow, something happens to your mom and you were just letting it sit. You don't have to reach out to fight. You don't have to reach out to explore what happened, but you can reach out with a message, just a simple message. Hey, mom, love you, miss you. You can just do that. I know, and I don't know what it is, but that's what we can do, so that you can feel right about your efforts. You can't be responsible for how other people receive your efforts, whether they are at the same place, whether they're ready to open back up and to come to the table and have a conversation. But what you can do is be responsible for the role you play. I can be responsible for calling my dad back when he called. I can be responsible for speaking up to my father, to reaching out to the elder. I can be responsible for that. Susie says, man, like you were in my mind this morning, make amends. Exactly. You heal not only ourselves, but generations to come. Exactly. Amanda says, I always try to remember that if I have issues and damages, so do others. Exactly. We are all looking for love. We just show it different ways. This is not an excuse for others' behaviors, but it's a reminder. Right. That's okay, Bina. Just keep reaching out. I know that sounds however it sounds, but just keep reaching out, because at the end of the day, at the end of your mother's times, if your mother gets sick, and I'm not going to pray that on her, knock on some wood, she's not about to get sick with any coronavirus stuff, but if something were to happen to you or to your mother, at least you reached out. At least you reached out. And it is just the same. Like sometimes I wonder if my girlfriend, is she even still alive? It's so unusual for her not to be around for this long. She's disappeared before, but it's so unusual for her not to disappear for so long. And when she has disappeared before, I've gone after her. And this time I decided, look, I want to say that B word, but that's not what I'm going to say. But this time I was so angry, because at the time when she decided to disappear, I was going through stuff too. I was breaking up with my son's father. I was royally terribly, excruciatingly, painfully in love with this man. I did not want that relationship to break up, but that relationship was not healthy for me, period. So I did want it to break up, but I really didn't. I tremendously loved him, but it wasn't he just couldn't receive that love. And therefore it was unhealthy for me to be in that relationship. And I was going through that. And my best friend of 20 years disappeared. And she was going through her own things, but could we not have leaned on each other? Right? But sometimes people need to withdraw into themselves. We can't force them out. All we can do is keep on tapping on the shell, say, hey, I'm here. I love you. Hey, I'm here. I love you. I miss you. Forget about how they feel. Forget about how they feel. Forget about how they receive it. I guarantee you they're going to feel some love, even if they don't show that they feel some love. Felt some love. You know, sometimes I don't say the right word. So there we go. Mother's Day, when was that? May, June, July. It's time for another reach out, Bina. Look, I'm talking about you, talking about it's time for another reach out. I haven't reached out for 10 years. Suli says, ooh, we so much trauma there, Kai. With your relationship and the loss of a friend, you've come a long way. Man, Suli, I'm coming. I came a long way. I'm coming a long way because there's been losses along the way since then, right? We just get back up. What's on my cup? Resilient. Okay. Do we have a choice but to be resilient? Do we? No, man. No, there's no choice. We're bringing up young kings, man. We got, look, I have to be strong. I have to teach my young king to be strong. I've got to do that. I can't teach somebody else to be strong when I'm being weak. We have to be resilient. But we have to get out of our own way. That's how I feel about it. I had to get out of my way with my father. I did. I was angry. I was hurt. I was everything. He was not the dad I wanted him to be. He was not the dad I needed. A lot of my relationship issues may have something to do with I didn't feel loved from a male figure when I was a kid. I need constant attention. Why? Because my daddy didn't give me any. I know that. Also, maybe because I'm the only child, maybe it didn't have not only child, I'm the youngest, didn't have anything to do with my daddy. It's just that, the youngest gets lots of attention. So I still want that attention. Give me some attention. But that's my love language. Give me some attention. You don't have to buy me lots of stuff. Just show me some attention. Right. Strong but receptive to love and support. Exactly. And I had to get out of my way. I had to get out of the I don't need you. This is what you chose. You chose to not be in my life this way, so fine. And when my father started calling me, and I didn't return his call one time, and he called me and said, I called you. You said you were going to call me back. And he sounded so hurt that I had not called him back. And I'm like, Negro, how often have you called me? Okay. But the fact that he sounded hurt touched me. And from that point forward, our relationship was different. I knew he cared. Now, maybe when he was younger and of his right-wrong mind, he just didn't know how to show it. But now in his right-wrong mind, no, not in his right mind, because, he was dementia, right? But look, I don't care. I'll take it. I like your dementia self better than your non-dementia self. I will take it. Everybody else, most other people I know who suffer from dementia, they got mean. He didn't get mean. He got nice. I'll take it. My hanging out with him at the hospital a little bit before he died, feeding him baby food, pureed fish. Ew, guys, that's nasty. But the man didn't have no teeth. Pureed fish. Ugh. Hanging out with him, feeding him his pureed fish. It was the best time of my life. The best interaction. It reminded me of the time with my dad when I was young, when my parents were still together. And I remember times of going to Forest Park in St. Louis, Missouri. Forest Park would be the equivalent of like a Golden Gate Park in San Francisco. Hanging out at Forest Park, going on bike rides. I remember I was young enough to still need to be in the seat, the carrier seat that's on the back of the bike. Well, at the time, and back in the day, it used to be on the back of the bike. Sometimes they're on the front of the bike now. But I was in one of those things. That's how young I was. And I remember the joy I don't remember much of anything. I do remember being afraid somebody was about to roll. They were rolling too close to the lake. I do remember the fear of them rolling too close to the lake. So apparently I've always been fearful of large bodies of water. But I remember the good feeling, right? And that time in the hospital with my dad brought back all of that good feeling. So we had good feeling, crazy, crazy distance, good feeling. We mended those wounds. And I don't know if he understood that's what he was doing, but I for sure know that's what I was doing. Rose says he needs to see that human side to be a good person. Speaking about your son, he needs to see the softer side as well. Yeah, that's true. Stace says, Dan, you just mentioned one of my subjects talking about people's love language and the importance of knowing and sharing what your love language is. Yes, that's okay, Stace. That is one of the subjects. Someone else mentioned that as well. So we are going to talk about love languages. Exactly. Because it's important. It's important for you to understand. How is it that you can, maybe my father's love language was something I would never recognize as love. I can't even point. I don't even know what it is. I have no idea what his love language was. I didn't feel loved for most of my life by my father. Certainly did not. But I loved my father, right? Is that weird? But it's the truth. So that's where my mind is today. We have got to reach out to those people who we love, who we know we will miss, and fix it. And I don't mean that the responsibility, for example, Bina, now I'm picking on you. I don't mean that the responsibility is yours to fix. But had I never reached out by calling my father, he would have never reached back with a phone call. Somebody has to start it. And when it's us versus the elders, too often it's us that has to start it. We have to do it. And you're the one that's going to miss your mom. She's going to be dead. You're going to miss her. So reach out. Hopefully you don't die first, because then she'll miss you and then she'll feel bad for having not reached out to you. Right? I know that sounds kind of gloomy, but that's life, right? Our elders are getting elderly. That's what it is. And it's not just about, though, let's just stop for a second. It's not just about the elders. Steve says at times it was required. I had to hand feed my mother. It was some of the best dementia-laden conversations. Exactly. Because they let down every bit of guard that they ever had. They don't even know how to keep it up. I laughed with my father. We were laughing and joking. I know it was a little bit morbid. I know, but sometimes, it's like I tell my people, you're going to wake up dead one day, so make sure you act right now. I know. I laughed with him. He was dying and I'm laughing with him. I think we closed down the hospital. They were like, okay, you guys, it's time to go. No, we're not ready to leave. At all. Me and my sister, I was coming from California. My sister was coming from Alabama. I was not ready to go. Like, y'all, we'll just come back later. We hung out at the hospital twice, I think it was. Anyway, guys, we have a responsibility to ourselves. This is all about self-care. See, it always comes back to self-care. I would have beat myself up for years to come had I not reconnected with my father when I had the opportunity to do it. So my thoughts of missing my father now are not shrouded in sadness. There's no sadness there. Yeah, I'm sad my dad is gone, but the reality is the logic and the reality set in afterwards. Girl, you didn't even live in the same city with your dad. You wouldn't have been seeing him. And if he were alive right now, you probably wouldn't be calling him right this second. Maybe you would reach out to him, but you didn't talk to him every day. So it's a good thing you miss him. That speaks to the repair of the relationship before he died. So it's very good that you miss him. And I felt joy in missing my father, which sounds crazy. I know, but that's the reality. Yeah, I was not shrouded. It was not, oh, I'm so sad because my dad is not here. I'm like, the moment that feeling of I miss my dad, right behind it, like, you know what? You connected so well with him. That was so beautiful. So it's that missing him is always followed by a really good feeling of, I'm so glad I had the opportunity to connect. I'm so glad that I listened to that third thought, fifth thought, sixth mind, intuition, whatever it was, when I was witnessed the death of my I mean, not the death, but the funeral of my Uncle Richard and my Aunt Peggy, and that pushed me over to my dad. And then when I was involved in all of that, I'm so happy I listened. And I'm so happy I didn't reach out to my sister Bernadette like, what the fuck? You know, I could have been going off. Could have really driven a wedge between the two of us, but I did not. I was like, I love you, and out of respect for you, I'm reaching out to you privately because I want us to address this issue. And she came back with love, like, I love you too, and this is how it is, Kai, and I got you. Not in all those words, but you know what I'm saying. I could have a whole bunch of different ways. But that's not where I was. Where I was at that time was these elders are elderly. They're not going to be here for too much longer. You better make woes, holes, whatever. Mend it now. Mend it now. Mend it today. Mend it now when you have the opportunity to do it. Because don't sit around waiting for the opportunity to come later, and then it never comes because they're gone before you know it. Suli, you can always share my posts. Absolutely. Suli says, beautiful. How wonderful to be a place to think of him like that, considering your strained relationship most of your years. Exactly. And now the strain is not what stands out. It's the love from prior to crazy and love towards the end of crazy. And the idea that, remember, I talk about it with our kids. You give them a solid foundation, and no matter how much they stray, hopefully, most of the time, they come back to that solid foundation. Now, it took my father a many number of years to come back to the loving father. But he did. Dementia, no. Stace says, I was upset with my father for many years, and it was my brother that brought us back together. Somehow the subject about being a father came up. Fantastic. I told him, man, how can you think you were a father of any means when you never did? I had a list that I rattled off. Yes. Stay says, but he started being a good grandfather. And as I was speaking at his funeral, I know that asshole has checked off everything on my list. Y'all, I had a speech ready for the funeral. It was not nice. It went on and on about how you were not the father you were supposed to be. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Somebody spoke to me. Probably he was like, Kai, please don't read that. You know, from the grave, he was like, come on, baby, come on. You know, he didn't talk like that, but still, please don't do that. I don't know what spoke to my heart that I did not do that. I found something else. But the moment when I wrote that poem for him, or that speech for him, I needed to get it all off of my chest. And it really, in my own way, it wasn't a negative. Although you guys know how sometimes I bring negative, right? It was negative. But it was negative in that you weren't this, and yet this is where I am with you, and I love you, and you could not have died at a better time. And I think that, and I saved it. I still have it. And I reread it, and yeah, it's negative, but it's not to me, because even though you were a shit asshole of a father, when you died, you were the father I wish you could have been, and I wish I had more time with you. But I'm glad for the time that we've had. And I'm glad that you died now, after we've repaired, after we've come back together, after I have felt love from you that I've never felt. But I realized that it was a personal thing that was between me and my dad and my family. And, you know, my family, I read it to them and they were like, yeah, that's nice, Kai. But just sit with that for a little bit. Think about it. I mean, if that's what you want to do, do it. But yeah, that's nice. But in the family, we would have understood. But everybody else at the funeral would not have gotten it. And then plus they didn't know me. So anyway. Suli says, all Stace, now you're the best dad, right? Thanks, Suli. That always means a lot. You know, we learn from our parents' mistakes. We redo some of their mistakes. I mean, that's just life, right? We become our parents in some ways. Hopefully we leave all the bad habits and only take the good stuff, right? But I know, Suli, a group hug would be really nice. And it's so, you know, I feel, I'm not even sad. That's why I said, it's a little heavy. I hope that it is not heavy in a negative way. It's a heavier subject than what we usually talk about. No, we get heavy sometimes here. That's just what we do. But it's really a positive to it. If I can repair things with my asshole daddy, y'all can repair everything with anybody. Okay, that's what I believe. If I can spend 40 something years of my life not feeling loved by my father, not feeling cared about by my father, and the memory that I have right now is from the last 2 years. Well, he's been gone a year and a little bit. He died last year. So from the last 2 years of his life, that's the love I feel. And it does not make up for 40 something years. Notice how I'm not telling you the exact number of years, right? Anyway, it does not make up for 40 something years, but it does. Because that's all that mattered. We went out on a good note. He went out on a good note. How could I ask for anything more? That's how I want to live my life at this point. I want to make sure that every note that I could possibly go out on is a good note. I'm going to reach out to my friend Tashira either today or tomorrow or the next day. I will hold myself accountable that by Wednesday I will reach out. That's what I would do, because I'm gonna have to force this. And I'm really gonna have to force it. By Wednesday I will reach out, because I have told you at this table that that's what I will do. I don't have anybody else in my life that I'm necessarily estranged from. That's a good thing. I can't think of anybody who doesn't love Kai. Okay, I mean, maybe just a few, but I don't love them either. So it's not gonna hurt me if they're not around. But I'm gonna reach out to my girlfriend by Wednesday. By Wednesday. Bina, I want you to sit with. I'm not gonna ask you to make a commitment to this table. I want you to sit with your need to reach out. And even if you don't recognize you have a need, I'm gonna tell you you have a need. You don't have to accept it, but that is what I'm going to say. I'm going to ask you to sit with that and pick a day to challenge yourself to reach out by that day. It doesn't have to be today. Look, I need until Wednesday. Suli says, yes, I have made amends with 2 friends over this year, and it's not in my nature to do so. It's been healing, right? She said, that's true. We sit up and listen to you every day. Just kidding, but kind of not. So that's what we're going to focus on. Hella hard, because you convince yourself it's not important in life, but it is, because the ripple effects on my life are amazing. Right. You shut yourself off from making amends because you decide here, that's not important to me. But you have to convince yourself that it's not important. Because if it weren't important to you, the thought wouldn't keep coming back to your mind periodically. It doesn't have to come back every day, but it comes back. The thought of my friend came back. It's been a year since it's come back, but it's come back because it's important to me. And I shut it out like, forget it. You know what? It's on her. Yeah, it's on her. But what part is on me? Reach out. Let her know you're still here. Maybe at this point she's embarrassed. She should be. Trifling heifer. She should be quite embarrassed. Trifling ass. Anyway, she should be embarrassed. And maybe she is. And maybe that's why she's not reaching out. Maybe she's ashamed. She should be. Maybe she's ashamed. I don't know what it is. Maybe she was having her own meltdown in her own life that she couldn't open up to me about. Maybe. I hope that's what it was, but I hope it's not. You know what I mean? Like maybe there was something significant for her that was too much for her. And she had to pull away from not just me, but from everybody. She better had her pulled away from everybody, not just me. Because if she didn't, if she's still friends with everybody else, we got a problem. But I won't know that. So I have to reach out. I have to reach out. Somebody said, I think Amanda said it, everybody has their own struggles, not in these words, but everybody has their own struggles. And I can't be mad at you because your struggle has you down more than my struggle has me down in comparison, because I didn't close myself off to you. I'm a different person. Suli says, not a hella hard over here. Love your curtains tied like that with the light coming through. Thank you, Suli. I do that, but you know the problem is I can't get the light consistent when I move back and forth in the light outside and the light there. It changes. So I'm going to get another light so that I can keep the light consistent on my face. Because I like it like this too. I like it with the light in the background. Maybe she's sick and can't talk. Call her. I ain't calling. That's too much. I'm going to reach out. I don't even have her number. I don't even have her number. I can't call. The only way I'm going to be able to get a hold of her is that her daughter and my daughter are friends on Facebook. That's the only way I'm going to be able to do it. I deleted her out of my life. I was hurt. I was upset. I was angry. I was like, look, you don't want to be in my life? Fine. You know what? I'm so tired of chasing behind you. I don't need to beg you to be my friend. Be my friend or don't be my friend. And now I'm like, where's my friend? I want my friend back. We was friends for a long time. Anyway. All right, guys. So we're not going to stay heavy today. This is not a heavy negative. This is a heavy positive. These are positive vibes, positive things. I feel good. I feel good. I am in a great place with missing my father. It feels good. Kai got emotions too, okay? It feels good. I want to challenge everybody at the table. If you have someone in your life that you haven't thought you need to make amends with, but someone who is distant from you, that you should probably make amends with, and sit with it. Just sit. If you have someone in your life that you say, I don't need to make amends with that person, I want you to really sit with that thought. Not just today, but sit with it over the next couple of days and decide, what's getting in the way of making amends? Is this somebody who you really should cut out of your life long term, that you should have cut out of your life long term? You guys, Bina and Suli will know who I'm talking about. Others may not. So I'm going to finish on this note, though. Suli says, really appreciate this tea time group. Filled my cup figuratively, too. Thank you, Suli. Me, too. Every day, girl. Every day. So, you know, my second mom, Denise Muhammad, comes on to the workouts, and she's been on the tea time table once or twice. Her daughter, Niambi Muhammad, and she has a daughter, Niambi, and she has a daughter, Saidia. So Saidia is younger than me. Saidia was the wild child running around, crazy wild child, younger, and Niambi and I were best friends. And one time, Niambi, there was a friend that we had, well, an adult friend. She was probably in her early 20s, and we were teenagers, like 15, 16. I think I was driving at the time, maybe 16 years old. And Priscilla was her name. And Priscilla, we all would hang out at the YMCA, and we were part of the leadership club. I was the president of the leadership club. Priscilla was a counselor for the leadership club. And there was another guy whose name I don't remember, Henry. Henry was another counselor. Now, they were ratchet and raunchy. Just so you know, they were ratchet and raunchy. We took a trip to Bahamas, and they were like having an orgy in the other room. Like, yeah, they were ratchet. Got getting kicked out of the hotel. We were teenagers. At 15, you know. Anyway, so Niambi's family lived in the upper unit, and it was a two-family flat. Niambi's family lived in the upper unit. Priscilla lived in the lower unit. Niambi's mom, Mama Denise, was going out of town at one point, and she was going to. She asked if Niambi could stay with my family for the weekend while she was out of town. So my mother said, yes, Niambi's my best friend. I was so happy that she was going to be there. I was going to have my friend over for the weekend. Excuse me. Oh, you know Denise Muhammad too. Oh, she's your daughter's teacher. Wow. So I loved Niambi, right? So while Niambi was at my house, she got a phone call from Priscilla. Priscilla was going to have a party. And Priscilla invited Niambi to the party. Well, Niambi is supposed to be spending the night at my house, and my mom didn't know Priscilla. Priscilla didn't invite me to the party. She only invited Niambi to the party, and Niambi was supposed to be staying with me for the weekend. So Niambi was excited about the party. I mean, she was a teenager. All her little teenager friends were going to be there, so she wants to be at this party. I get it now, but I was hurt when she told my mom she wanted to go. And I was like, well, you can't go. You know, look, I was the mama. You can't go because your mama left you in my mom's hands. And my mom is responsible for you, so you can't go. So Niambi got her mom on the phone. Mama Denise is like, yes, okay, she can go. Well, everybody wasn't thinking about how is Kai feeling. Left out, hurt, jilted by her best friend, right? Niambi left to go to Priscilla's house for this party. And I was hurt and angry. And young, hurt, angry Kai, well, she was a force to be reckoned with. So I was like, all right, so you're going to leave. Take all your shit. Only I didn't say shit because I didn't say shit when I was that age. Take all your shit with you. If you leave any of your shit here, it won't be here for you to get back when you come back. Well, Niambi left a gold necklace. She left her phone book by accident. We didn't have computers and FaceTime and Facebook, and we didn't have all that stuff. We didn't have email. She had a phone book written out, like this stuff written all her contacts. She left a basketball, her gold necklace, and her phone book. And I don't know if she left anything else. So I put it all in the closet. I hadn't thrown it away yet, but young Kai was an evil bitch, just so you know that. Very, very, very evil. You hurt me? Okay. So Niambi's birthday was coming up. I hadn't spoken to Niambi. She had called me to get her stuff. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have your stuff. Her stuff was in my bedroom closet. I ain't got your shit. Okay. I don't have it. I told you to take your stuff with you. You didn't take it. That's your fault, not mine. It's gone. I told you I was going to throw it in the trash. It's in the trash. It wasn't in the trash. So Niambi's mom, Mama Denise, called me. And Mama Denise asked me, hey, Kai, so we're planning a surprise birthday party for Niambi. And we would like to be able to invite her friends. Now, Mama Denise didn't say she was inviting me. She said she was going to invite Niambi's friends. So we would I'm thinking she calling to say she's going to invite me. But she was calling to get the phone book so she can invite all the friends. Now, maybe she also was going to invite me. I don't know. But me and Niambi hadn't talked for a while. And me, the trifling child that I was, now, the phone book is in the bedroom closet. And the only reason I kept it in the closet is because if my mom got involved, I needed to have not thrown her stuff away. But as long as my mother didn't get involved, I was good. So I did have it because I didn't want to get beat down at my own house, right? So she said, we need to have the phone book. And I was like, well, I'm sorry, Mama Denise, but I don't have it. I told Niambi to come and get her things, or to take her things with her, and she didn't, so I threw it away. And that was the last that I spoke to Niambi, Mama Denise, or Saidia for years. I don't know if they ever had friends over to the house. I don't know if Niambi ever got in touch with her people. I don't know. But I do know I had not thrown away any of her stuff, and eventually I did. I just was like, oh, well, whatever. My mother didn't get involved. Now I can throw it away now. Threw it away. I was done. You not my friend. You left. So, yes, absolutely premeditation. So, years later, maybe about 5 years later, I see Niambi walking down the street. And she speaks to me. I speak to her, and I go on about my business. A couple of years later, I miss you. Yeah, whatever. I'm still not, 5 years later, I'm still like, deuces. Out, bitch, we ain't cool. Okay? Now, she ain't a bitch. I love her, right? But I'm saying I was just a trifling young person. Years later, a couple of years later, maybe 5, 6 years later, Saidia sees my grandmother on the bus. And Saidia, or maybe they're together, sees my grandmother on the bus, and they want to have my phone number. And they asked my grandmother for my phone number. And I was like, no, don't give it to them. And my grandmother was the type of person that she won't, if you tell her not to give somebody your phone number, she's not going to do it. That's your personal information. She's not sharing it. So I was like, no, Grandma, you don't need to share my information with them. Years later, I'm still mad because you went to the party at Priscilla's house and you did not. Now, obviously, you're reaching out to me to be your friend. Obviously. But nope. No. Kai doesn't mend these wounds. These wounds stay scabbed over and visible and hurt every single time I even look at them. Today, Mama Denise is Mama Denise. And Niambi is my sister. And Saidia is my little sister. I love them. And eventually, in my late 20s, I grew up, okay? I saw Niambi. She was giving a talk. She's with Nation of Islam. I want to say that, and I hope I'm saying that right. I saw her give a talk. I saw a talk with Farrakhan or somebody. And I saw this picture of this woman giving this powerful talk. And I'm like, that looks like Niambi. And it was. And I hunted her down. I reached out to her. I called her. She was in Chicago. She had gotten married. I don't know if she had her first child yet. But I reached out to her. I was terribly trifling, Steve. Terribly. I'm not anymore. And who mended it? See, Niambi had tried. She had tried. And I had shut it down like hell to the no. You left. You supposed to be my friend. Nah, dog. Deuces, get out. In my mid to late 20s, I reached out to Niambi, and Niambi and I have been connected ever since. And if I ever get the opportunity to get to Chicago, I will go visit with Niambi and her husband and her family and Saidia. That's Mama Denise. That's Saidia, my sister Saidia, and my sister Niambi. A very, very, very important part of my childhood. And almost because of my stupidity, almost it would have been lost forever. But because of who they are, when Mama Denise started calling me her daughter again, I was like, do she even remember I threw her daughter shit away? I ain't gonna remind her. But because of who they are, they received me back. And I'm so very grateful for that, because I never stopped missing her. I didn't. I never stopped missing her, but I was hurt. So I'm ending on that note because a lot of times we allow hurt and pride and anger, which is just hurt, to get in the way of our own healing. And I am a much, much, much better person for having reconnected with my friend Niambi than I was prior, for having forced myself to look her up, to hunt her down. Whether she was going to receive it or not, I didn't know. She could have been like, nah, Heather, you threw my shit away. Anyway, Rose says you were being protected from the party. It wasn't going to be good. Yeah, it wasn't good. Actually, Rose, you're so right. It wasn't good at all. And I would not have wanted to go. The people that were there, they were trifling. So no, I wouldn't have wanted to go. And I didn't. And I knew who the person was who had it. And I knew her history with how we had gone to the Bahamas together and how trifling they were. So yeah, you're right. I would not have wanted to go even if I wasn't invited. And my mother wouldn't have let me go. No, I was too good for that. Anyway, guys, so that's why I want to end on that note. Mend it. It doesn't matter. There's a hole in the bucket, dear Elijah. Dear Elijah, mend it. With what shall I mend it? With a stick, with a broom, with the yarn, pick whatever. Mend it. Mend it. Doesn't matter what you need to mend it with. Find something and mend it. Find a way to mend it. If not for the other person, for you. For you. You understand? If not for the other. Why are you stuck on the look, Suli? Stay on subject, girl. Where the squirrels? You said y'all look better on your YouTube pic than Facebook pic. Okay, Suli. Mend it. So that's what I want to leave you with today, please. Please, Dina, please, we're going to be praying for you to mend it with your mom. And for everybody else, whatever situation that you have that you need to revisit and mend, make an effort towards that this week. That's it. All right, I will see you guys here tomorrow, same time, 10 o'clock, 9, 10, 7, 9. And look, why do I always do this? 7, 9, and 10. Like, it's because I'm imagining the map of the United States. 7, California, 9, Missouri, 10 o'clock, Maryland. That's what I'm imagining. Anyway, I love y'all at this table. Remember this moment after at some point I make you mad. Nah, man, nah, we ain't gonna remember, but I'm sure you're gonna remind us. Anyway, I love you guys at the table. Thank you so much for joining me. Be safe, be safe, be safe. Make sure that you wear your masks. Make sure that you wash your hands. I shouldn't have to tell you that, but do it anyway. And make sure that you stay physically distanced, but come up with creative ways to do so that you can still get your needs met. All right. Have a wonderful, glorious day. And I will see you here tomorrow. Rose, I don't know what time your flight is tomorrow, but everybody send Rose some traveling mercies, please, some traveling blessings. And Rose, we hope that you get to your destination safe and sound. And I will